Hey guys, it's Mr. Wolfie, and I'm here to kind of make an addendum to my original multiple dimensions theory versus no multiple dimensions theory, all that jazz. You know, the video I made recently in response to a Twin Perfect video, in which I do actually agree with him that there are not multiple physical dimensions, blah blah blah. We'll get into that in a second. This is not me telling anybody they're wrong. There is plenty of evidence to support all the theories that I'm about to talk about. And I'm about to show you little diagrams and explain where I'm coming from when I'm thinking about certain things. So the first thing we need to do is look at the key. Alright, I'll just let this sit up on the screen for a second, and then I'm going to read it off. There is a line with an X on either side of it, and that basically means that there is an impenetrable barrier between the dimensions I'm talking about. They cannot be seen or interacted with, so you can't throw a baseball from one dimension to another is basically what I'm saying. And they usually require some sort of portal or transport system. Now, just a flat line is a physical plane of existence. On this pencil, there's a physical plane of existence. There's probably resistance too. I don't know. It's pretty smooth. My beard's got some resistance. All right. So there'll be some arrows with one arrow pointing. That'll be a one-way street from one dimension to another, or something along those lines. There'll be an arrow with an arrowhead on either end, and that will basically mean that you can go back and forth between the dimensions. Also, there are this little symbol right here. It literally means here's reality, this happens, it's still reality, but reality is now different. So the worlds are interconnected and are part of the same plane of existence, but they are no longer the same world. So basically, this is working under the assumption that the power of Silent Hill is a spiritual energy that has always been there and will always be there, and is somewhat omnipotent and can really do whatever it wants. I mean, if it can generate gods, demons, and any kind of crazy stuff that can come out of your head, then you gotta assume that the power of Silent Hill is immense. So with this in mind, we're going to start off with the multiple dimensions theory. You got the real world, which is where my pencil is now. Something happens in the real world, and the character goes down the little arrow past an impenetrable barrier that only Silent Hill can open and close, to Fog World, which is where most of the games take place, you know, in like the majority of the games, whatever. So then something happens and you go from Fog World through an impenetrable barrier to Dark World, and then you're in Dark World. Then you do the same thing and go to the Other World, which can also be called Rust World or the Nightmare World or whatever you want to call it. It's that crazy, spooky place. So basically that's what a lot of people see. And there's some evidence that you can go back and forth, but the way I see it when they talk about this particular theory, there's going to be more that you're going to get your theory talked about in a second here. I tried to cover all bases here. Is that this is very final. It's like you're going from the real world to another dimension and there's no going back. But why? It doesn't really reveal. It's kind of vague, which I like vague. Vague lets my mind do stuff like this, and I can make these cool little videos where you watch and learn a little something, and then we can talk about it because I like talking about it. But anyway, here's what I call the dual dimension theory, and a lot of people, I think the majority of people, see this one as the what's going on. But here we go. So you start off and you got the real world like before, but then they get transported through the impenetrable dimensional barrier to what I kind of collectively called the Silent Hill world. Now this is present not in Silent Hill, but in everywhere, and apparently Silent Hill just has the power to open the necessary transportation system, kind of like osmosis, I guess. I don't know exactly, but that's why you can explain things like Shepherd's Glen and what was the name of that place? South Ashfield. That's a hard word to say, is it not? Alright, let's go here. We got Silent Hill World, and the first place is always Fog World. But then Fog World and the Dark World and the Other World are all supposedly one dimension that can change back and forth depending on the situations, that they are in. And so I'm going to make an addendum here because I didn't actually draw this. Notice this. These worlds can go back and forth, and they are like layered over each other, kind of like it's kind of like toppings on a sandwich. I mean, you put the lettuce and then the tomato and then pickles and then the mayonnaise is on the bun, and here's the bun, but then the meat's over here, and then you got this. And I guess the sesame seeds is the real world. But anyway, we're going to go on to my next little thing here. It's the singular dimension theory. Taking out, there's absolutely no other dimensions, but there's the real world, and all this stuff just absolutely is happening in the real world. I associate with this one more than the others. You got the real world, and then you got all the other dimensions from Silent Hill. I say dimensions lightly. That's not really the word that needs to be used here, I guess. And they can go back and forth and change and alter, and really it's all one plane of existence that is being manipulated and altered as you go on. Which I agree with that. But here's the catch, and here's my theory. And this, if you take into account the whole thing I said before about Silent Hill being all-powerful and can do whatever it wants, then you look at this. This is a beautiful drawing of a head and a brain. And I consider that dreams and your imagination, your system of beliefs, your nightmares, all that jazz, inside your head is actually another plane of existence to you as a individual. I mean, you think about it. When you're in a dream, you can almost never tell that you're in a dream. You just do whatever you do. And, you go through the dream like it was happening in real life. But what if the dream was happening in real life? What if Silent Hill had the ability to say, take the dream, go to the real world, take your dreams, your nightmares, whatever, and filter it into what happens in the Silent Hill world? This is real to you. You know why? Because it's happening to you. This is real to everyone. Now think about that. That would explain a bunch of situations where you're in supposedly alternate dimensions, such as in Silent Hill 1 where Harry and Lisa are chatting. I think that's Harry literally getting pulled into a dream world, possibly Alessa's. And also it would explain pretty much everything that happens in Silent Hill 4 when you go through the hole in the wall and you go inside Walter's dream or nightmare. I don't know. It's kind of a little of both, wasn't it? Because it was what Walter remembered, and it was kind of, I guess, what he wanted. But at the same time, it was stuff that was meant to torment him. I mean, he smacks those babies around. It's pretty cool, actually. He's like, hey, there's a baby. I'm going to get a pipe. Anyhow, that's kind of what I got going on in my thought process. And there's evidence to suggest that any of these could be true. I mean, there's no proof that anyone said, hey, this is what's going on. I mean, that's what Silent Hill is good for. It's perception. Glad you guys were here. Love y'all. Peace out.